Welcome back to the Unlock a Life You Love podcast. My name's Dr. Tim Teel. I am the Doc of Unlock, and welcome back to another really interesting episode of the Unlock a Life You Love podcast. Today we have Ragan Thomson on to chat with. Ragan, thank you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here with you.
Excellent. So, Ragan is a transformative life coach and a spiritual healer. I'm not going to steal a lot of her thunder. I want her to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll chat some more about what you do and why you do it. So, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, thank you so much. So nice to be here. I've been on this journey as a teacher, a spiritual teacher, healer, spiritual counselor, transformational life coach as well. A lot of different kind of arenas within the healing world. For quite a while throughout this entire life. I would say, yeah, I was born very ready to do the work. You know, I came out very joyous and intuitive and a lot of abilities, higher abilities. And I also, just like everyone, started to experience the environment we're living in and started to absorb some of that and started to experience my own pain, my own stress. And we, as a healer and as a teacher, that was kind of went to sleep for a moment and woke back up. And then through my own internal healing work, which I did a whole heck of a lot of initially, I wanted to really clear my energy systems thoroughly before I'd ever begin to work with anyone else, right? So I went on a very intensive journey to heal the pain, the trauma, the wounding that I had accrued. And I became very aware very quickly that that was of which was from many lives that was now in this life as an amalgamation of many different lives of pain that had landed in my system. So I started to work within the dimension of this life, healing this life, as well as all lives before. And so, you know, it all kind of lands here now. Some people would say you need to remember all those past lives. Let's do past life work. I understand that everything is within us now. So any of the remaining pain, wounding, trauma, anything that's there, it is all there from before. So whatever we did not process, whatever we did not release, whatever karma that we not get cleared in a different life, it is up for us to learn that now and heal that now. So that became a mission for me as I awoke, as I started to see myself become much more healthy, more clear, more vibrant, more available now to help others, right? So I began to open a practice and start to really just help folks really rewire their subconscious through all different types of healing modalities. So really, I'm an intuitive. So I just basically listen to spirit. I listen to the divine. I listen to what, for each soul I'm working with, what is being called for to heal and kind of do what they need for their system to also experience that level of healing. And so, yeah, I've been doing that for over 25 years now. And one of the main components of my work is to help people access their soul, to really, really learn about who their true divine soul self. Really an intensive process of really dropping in, and you begin to, from the soul, process this stuff versus from the mind as much. Because what I've learned is our soul is to be like the leader in some way or the guide, and then to kind of process and create through the mind. So I've found that when one really accesses their soul and really drops into that space, then from there, what can happen with the healing can be so much more rapid, so much more accelerated.
Right. No. So, wow. I'm rapidly writing down all the questions that I want, and and all of a sudden I realize, gosh, we need to have like a 4-hour conversation. So, I
Yeah.
want to ask you, how old were you when you had this awakening experience, and what do you think triggered that awakening experience?
Pain, you know, the thing that so many of us wish to kind of avoid, you know, the stuff that we're like, oh, I don't want to feel that. Well, enough of that accrued within my energy system. I was doing a lot of I was a competitive semi-pro touring tennis player for most of my early life. And I just, whatever, like again, the environment, the parents, the competition, it just became too much for my energy system. It wasn't really, it was all really good. It taught me a lot. But who I really was to be here was a facilitator, kind of going back from all the many lives of doing the same work. And so awakening to that really was this catalyst that happened within me through like really just feeling like so weighed down that I was like, oh my God, I need to get some help. So my first spiritual teacher was where that process began. And I was at probably an age of, 20, age 20. And then I'd already done quite of, I'd had a lot of spiritual experiences, but I had not really woken up to going, oh wow, there's way more here than I had ever thought could be. And I was very interested with the body. My doorway in very much was about the body and wanting to heal my body because had done so much physical work with the sports career. And I was I was struggling at the time too with an eating disorder. I had a very serious sickness. And it became, very debilitating. I was pretty much checking out. I was pretty much dying. So that kind of rebirth from death, really, in some way, I kind of went, you know what, I better do something or else I'm going to lose my body.
Totally. No, 100% get it. That's the way so many people enter into this work is pain. And the fascinating point of perspective is that the pain, the diagnosis, the ugly things, the horrible things that that come into our life frequently are the catalyst for something much larger and much better and much more interesting. So,
Mhm.
we when we started this interview, you talked right off the bat about some things that there's a lot of people that are going to say, "Whoa, past lives and spirituality and all that sounds like an awful lot of woo woo to me." What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with all of those people, right? So I've worked with everyone from every dimension of every life, in this life, those who are, naysayers to that work, those who are super on board with that work. Some of them are just getting started. I've worked with all different folks in that way. Um, you know, I would say, I'm kind of launching right in here. I can start at any level with anyone. And so to make sure that, to speak to them specifically around energy is helpful. We cannot deny that everything is made of energy. We cannot deny that, it's interesting. Someone will have like this moment, they're like, well, I feel like I'm having like a deja vu. I'm like, is it a deja vu or is it a recall from a past life? Like there's often these ways that we're like, there's just no way to explain it other than this is just who I am. And there's something about me that is unique based on anyone else's perspective, what anyone else is going through. There's something about me that is divine, that is unique. And in that uniqueness, in that divinity, there is what is called often this return to who we really are. And often that's kind of where I start to help them explore the truth of who they are by kind of getting to know themselves through their feelings, from their emotions to starting to explore kind of their likes, their values, what they feel triggered by, why they feel activated. All of that kind of is a map to starting to go, maybe I am far more than this body, more than this flesh than I thought. There's something really powerful within me that's going on in this energy system. I like to do a lot of work with the energy system, the chakras, because again, those are quite scientific. I mean, that's been a lot of people are like, oh, those are woo woo too. It's like, no, if you do the science, there's specific energy centers within our body that they
Well,
really are.
even if you just look at the anatomy,
Yeah,
the anatomy itself, there are is multiple different endocrine systems that are at each one of those chakra points.
exactly.
So that's there is physical evidence that that chakra system is not only real, completely valid, and unbelievably powerful. And
Yeah.
for us to ignore the information that we can see and that we can measure, that's just crazy. To deny the fact that there's an anatomical correlation to to something that we refer to as energetic centers, silly. It's just silly.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And I often say this to folks and clients or whoever I come across, that I feel like what we've done in this world is unfortunately we've not been teaching some of the most primary classes that need to be at the school. I really understand this to be the school of learning within really the soul evolutionary school versus this what we're being taught in these classes, right? And we really need to update our educational system so that, management of the energy system, connecting with our feelings, working with the chakras, like really starting to explore the energy system, who we are and our makeup and our physiological and our spiritual and our emotional and our mental makeup, that is not brought into the school system. And as far as I understand, that is exactly what needs to be in the school system,
Exactly right.
as early as kindergarten. Like literally starting to like, what are your feelings and what are they about? And let's start to connect with them. Because really all of that, right? Our feelings, our emotions, our physical, it's a doorway. They're all doorways into something within us that is just like with information about who we really are,
Well,
and what
no,
we're going
let
through
me
on a deeper level.
tell you, when no, when I moved from treating my patients as a piece of meat to treating them as if they were emotional, spiritual beings, and that no, and that the real power to treat that physical body was in that was in that emotional, energetic, and spiritual field. Just immediately crazy things started to happen. I mean, things that this isn't supposed to happen. I mean, when no, if you cruise around on my website, you'll hear some of the stories that that happened to me during my last few years of practice. I had one fellow that that came to see me for hearing loss, and I pulled out a stick to just look in his mouth, and just holding that stick up, this guy freaks completely out. I mean, stands up, starts gagging, yelling, screaming, sweating profusely. I mean, just immediately, his face is red. He's got his hands in the air. He's no, I mean, I immediately threw the stick and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I don't know what's going on, but we're not going to do that. Okay, no, we
Uh,
are not going to. It's okay. Everything's good, boss."
mm,
I walked him down the no, walked him down the hallway to do a hearing test on him. His wife is sitting, with me in the control room. He's in the hearing booth. I'm doing the hearing test, and I'm talking to her. I said, "What's going on with that gagging thing?" She said, "Doc, if he had known that you were going to try and look in his mouth with that stick, he never would have come here." And I said, "Well, why?"
yeah,
She said, "Listen, he was no, he was abused when he was a child, and that gagging thing was just a, his self-defense. But it has become a stress response. And so every time he gets stressed out, he starts to gag." She said he got in a, he got in a road rage incident a few years ago. And he got so wound up that he started gagging, had to pull off to the side of the road and gag for almost 30 minutes. Couldn't stop. I mean, it's completely debilitating.
yeah,
And he said, I had just been introduced to emotional freedom technique tapping,
mm,
and just kind of messed with it a little bit. I had had some rather dramatic experiences with it, and I just asked this guy out of the blue. I said, "Hey, we did his hearing test, and I said, talk to me about that gagging thing." And he said, "Yeah, I know it's been there." He said, "I've been in cognitive behavioral therapy for 40 years." He said, "Hasn't even touched it." And I said, "Would you try something with me?" And he said, "Okay, sure, I'll try anything." Yeah. And I said, "Bang your hands together like this and say, despite my gagging, I'm okay. Despite my gagging, I love and accept myself." We went through all the tapping points and did it. Like, it took 2 minutes. And I said, "Take a big deep breath." He does. And I said, "Take another one." He does. And we just sat there and looked at one another for a little bit, this kind of weird, awkward silence. And I opened a drawer and I pulled out a stick and I scooted over there to him and I said, "Are you ready?" And he said, "For what?" And I held that stick up and I said, "How you doing?" And the guy just looks at me. I mean, he just looks at me.
I love it. Yeah,
And I said, "Open your mouth." He opened his mouth and I put that stick on his tongue and he just looked at me. And I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Okay."
yeah,
And I pushed down on the back of his tongue hard enough that I made the stick crack, and I did it on purpose. That's how we keep people from gagging when when we look in their throat. If you push down hard on the base of their tongue, they won't gag. And I said, "How you doing now, Hoss?" I said, "Uh, huh?" Threw the stick away, and his wife passed out on the floor right next to me. She literally
Oh
passed out.
my
He
God.
says, "What in the world was that?" That's not the words that she used. No, but we're not going to
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not going to use the language that she did. But she said, "I've been going to church for 40 years. What the heck is this?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I guess it kind of worked."
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Love
It
and
is. And
acceptance.
we called that guy back in a year, and we said, "Hey, how you doing?" He said, "Gagging's still gone." He's like, "So's my wife too, by the way."
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
no. I said,
EFT.
"No, Doc, you did me a favor." And he said, "I don't know what you did, but no, but there was something." And I said, "I didn't do it. You did it. Okay, and we just it is just a tool." And that was the introduction to to energy in my practice, or energy work in my practice. I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all those people who are out there wondering, what is this woo woo stuff for real? Yeah, done correctly, it's unbelievably powerful. Now,
Yeah.
what this lady is talking about, this lady is talking about is unbelievably powerful. And what I learned was that the spirit and the emotion is the operating system for this physical body. That's where the operating system is. You know, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the way we describe it is that our soul, which is in connection to spirit, which is like our this spark, this spark of our eternal being, right? This part of ourself that never dies, right? Our body drops, is always connected to this, let's call it hooked up to something, right? And for some people, they call it higher power, they call it spirit, they call it source, they call it God. Who knows what they call it? It's all good, but there's something that we're hooked up to, like an antenna, that we're receiving energy, we're receiving support, we're receiving guidance. And when we connect our soul to spirit, when we connect our soul to that, that antenna, we start to receive all that we need, really. Like, and so, it's amazing when we kind of like go through that EFT technique where we start to kind of tap into like, I love and accept myself. I do a lot of tapping with folks and with myself. And
Fantastic tool, love it.
it's such a great tool. And you're when you're connected to our soul and we're connected to spirit, especially, we're connected to love, we're connected to pure love, we're connected to acceptance, we're connected to joy, we're connected to the truth of who we really are. We are not all this pain and suffering. Of course, things happen and we're going to go through stuff, right? Because we can't control the outer world. But who we really are at our nature, our soul's essence of who we really are all those beautiful higher attributes that we just mentioned, all those beautiful higher energies. We are luminous light beings. We are energetic beings. So yeah, are they speaking about this at school? No. And should they be? Absolutely. Because
Although it's
when
coming, it's coming. EFT is a big deal in schools now. It's a great first start. Okay.
it's starting. Yeah, it's happening. Yeah. I mean, my kids go to Waldorf, which is great. It's more of a holistic school, just so we are aware of that they are speech teaching in certain schools. But then I also have another child that's going to a public school, and she's not experiencing that there. Right. So we're hoping that it expands to all school systems. We are, it's something we're working on here with another organization. So it's really important work. And I believe that if we could start like right at ground zero, we're going to have a very different world. We're going to have when children start learning this stuff right at the beginning. So that's key. And it's never too late, right? It's never too late. Like, we're talking about it now. There's going to be people that are going to be hearing this and they may have never even begun, and they're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's really just this initial permission to say, maybe I don't believe it, but I'm going to check this out. I'm just going to give this a try. And maybe it's
So
something simple like
where would you tell people that what do you think somebody's first step ought to be?
I would say, if they're open, to start a meditation practice. We are a meditation teacher. I'm a meditation teacher. I speak in we a lot because I'm connecting to spirit as we speak, like the we, right? Of oneness. And I feel like if anyone could just do 5 minutes, just like starting to just do some deep breathing and closing your eyes and just breathe and connecting to your heart. Often if you put your hand next to your heart when you're breathing, and then you take that 5-minute practice. I start people off with this a lot, and they'll be like, oh, my mind's racing and I'm everywhere. And it's like, great. Well, that's totally normal to start, but like really starting to pay attention to what you're hearing, what you're feeling, And if you want afterward, it'd be great to journal that. I heard this, I was distracted, it made me sad, I was mad, I thought about my mom. It's like all of that stuff is really just, again, just probably not only distraction, but unprocessed pain, even that's starting to come into that silent space. And we need that silence. We need that moment of beat to just like check in with ourselves. And again, we're not really taught to do that so much. We're taught to just kind of keep going, keep doing, go, 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 go. So even those like 5-minute pauses, maybe sometimes someone like, oh, I didn't remember to do it. Well, put it on your phone, right? Put an alarm on your phone. Everybody seems to have an alarm these days on their phone. You can put, for 5 minutes in the morning, I take that breath, I sit down, I practice. If you don't want to call it meditation, call it just mindful breathing. Call it a pause, a momentary pause in the day. Some people they have this like aversion to certain words, even breathing or meditation. It's like, I get it. Okay. But I think we can all agree we deserve to have some time for ourselves, and so it's that check-in, it's that check-in. And the more that you do that, I've noticed that it expands. You start to go, ooh, I kind of like this.
Nice. Once somebody gets a taste of wow, that's really cool. I mean, for me, it was EFT.
Yeah.
When I was introduced, I came across all of this in 2020 during the pandemic, like a lot of people. I mean, our worlds got shook. We experienced a piece of pain. We experienced some upset. We experienced something that we didn't want, and said, "Ooh, I don't see a way through this." So we start looking around for
Mhm.
um, alternative ways to cope, alternative ways to get through. And I came across EFT, and I immediately felt something shift. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
anxiety came down. I used it, to help me sleep. I used it with physical pain, and I'm like, what in the world? Why didn't they teach me this in medical school?
Yeah. EFT is so great because I do a lot of work with parts integration. So meaning like parts of ourself, like past pain, kind of like child cells, ego cells, parts of ourself that have not been resolved. So meaning like parts of ourself that are still fearing, still worrying, still doubting. Those parts within EFT get to speak. Those parts, they get to like share their pain and speak words they never spoke. It's
We give
really,
them a voice.
yeah, we
You know,
give them a
we
voice. It's cathartic. It's really cathartic. And and
it
it,
is, and
it
it's fast.
and it's so fast.
It is.
EFT is in a beautiful, I mean, I tap every week. It's really a profound gift. EFT is for sure. We
So
bring
what are
that with
some of the other tools that you use in your practice? So, I hear meditation, I hear EFT. What are some of the other tools that you use?
I work within the realm of prayer, who's open, right? We do a lot of prayer work, and I find that to be profound what happens in that purifying space. I do a lot of work with just rewiring of the subconscious, whatever's needed. So meaning going into a process, eyes closed, really like connecting to the wound, to the space, directing light into it, connecting to the light, really literally directing light into the center, watching it dissolve. It's kind of amazing, pretty miraculous. I also do work with forgiveness work. I do a lot of forgiveness work and that's in a space of, processing, right? Where we are really connecting to the part. Usually inner child work is really helpful within the space of forgiveness. So connecting to those old parts, those old aspects of self that have not been processed and starting to give them voice. But as well, I really love to work within the realm of forgiveness and also the dissolve of beliefs, like really kind of working into the updating of beliefs, but beyond that, the transcendence of them, so that we are not living in a belief world, we're living in the truth. We're living in the truth of who we are.
So what would you how would you respond to someone who has deep religious beliefs, and they walk in and you're talking about past lives and you're talking about all this weird stuff, and what would you tell those people, who would come at you and say, oh yeah, well, I don't know if I ought to be messing around there. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that that's understandable, that they might feel that way, considering they may have not ever explored it before. And I would tell them that, how's it going? I'd ask them some questions. I'd say, how's it going in your life? Are you feeling stressed? Do you have pain? Do you feel do you feel peaceful in your life? You know, those empowering questions are powerful. They're like, well, yeah, I have pain and I'm stressed and whatever, everybody does. How would you like to resolve that? You know, I would ask those type of questions. How would you like to live in a life of peace? And I think people really shut themselves down from that possibility because they don't know what's available out there.
Right.
So sometimes just being presented the opportunity to live life peacefully, like literally say there is a way. Would you like to understand that? Would you like to know about it? They often are like, well, sure. I mean, I didn't even know. Like, I mean, it's amazing how much pain people are in, and they just learn to accept it because they know pain more than they know peace, right? There's parts of them that know stress and pain far more than they would ever know what this thing called peace. They're like, I'm just used to this. This is how I'm used to feeling sick and tired. And so presenting another option.
No, my response always to those folks is, no, we're not here to compete. We're here to enhance. And if the work that we're doing here doesn't enhance your religious experience, then we're obviously in competition with one another. But if you give it the opportunity to work, I have never seen anybody not say, "Wow, this really is enhancing my religious experience, and things are getting better." So, no, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, no
beautiful.
worries. It is.
Yeah.
It truly is. We're all playing on the same team here, folks. And when we embrace the parts of us that are unpleasant, that are uncomfortable, that are painful, it's only then that we can begin to process that and create the sort of life that we do love, to help us unlock a life that we love by addressing things at an even deeper level, and instead of simply staying on the surface and talking about things, we're actually getting in there and massaging and working with the really uncomfortable parts of being a human being.
Mhm.
And it's powerful, when the way I try and describe it to people is I came from a world of medicine where the only things that mattered was what we could weigh and what we can measure and what we can see. And
Yeah.
there's another part of the world, the unseen part of the world of spirit and religiosity and emotion. And what I'm the whole point of our podcast, the whole point of what of my message is, there's information in the gap between these two worlds,
Mhm.
and what connects those two worlds together is understanding that primarily we are an emotional, spiritual, energetic being living inside of a piece of meat that we call a physical body.
Mhm.
And the greatest irony of working in medicine was that we don't like to talk about all the woo woo stuff over here, the spiritual, energetic, emotional stuff, and yet we lose interest in this physical body when this part of us goes away. We call it dead. Okay,
Mhm.
this is what defines this.
Yeah.
Okay, it's it's the greatest irony in medicine that I never really was able to integrate. And then once I started to see the power that was in this hand, it was like, yeah, I don't think I belong here. And in 2023, I hung it up. I sent a clean medical license back to the state of Texas and said, you know what, this is I'm on this lady's team now. Okay,
Yeah.
this is
Congratulations. Yeah.
100%.
No, congratulations. And for that to be infused more and more into the medical industry would be amazing, right? Like more of this intersection, bringing more of that into the center together within, because sometimes, right, people need to go to the doctor and they need some medicine. But then to also talk about the energetic, like, how are you doing in your life? Like, what's going on with you on a spiritual, like, really exploring that as well within that doctor's appointment.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I've always said that that we all agree 100%. Stress and anger and hatred and all the rest of that stuff can make you sick. But
it does.
but if we believe that, then why are we not talking about how love and peace and forgiveness and all the rest of that stuff will make you well? And if we don't talk about that, that's no different than believing in up but not down, cold but not hot,
For
left
sure.
but not right. And there's opposition in all things. We see that in the physical body. We see that in the physical world. We see it everywhere. How can you say this will make you sick, and then not talk about what will make you well? And I'll tell you why that is. It's because it
Yeah.
doesn't fit the cash flow model. Okay, that's the only reason why.
Yeah.
And no, but no, but if you want to get to the root of disease, if you have ever gotten this from a physician, when you want to know the answers of why am I still sick, the next question has to be, what are we not addressing here? And do we need to go upstream from the physical part of me to the emotional, energetic, and spiritual part of me, and get to the real operating system? Because that's where the power is. And when we embrace that, when we understand that part of us, the emotional and spiritual parts of us, uses our body to try and communicate with us, but we're not teaching anybody the language. And people like this are teaching the language of the higher parts of us that are in communication with the lower parts of us. This piece of meat is nothing more than that, just a piece of meat.
Yeah, that's well stated. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
Yeah,
Regan,
our inner life and our inner world is an inside job to heal. Let's just be clear. Like, I mean, if someone
well
is
stated.
with some sort of illness or body dysfunction in some way, they're dealing with some sort of ailment, it's going to be an inside job to heal that. If it does heal through medicine or whatever, we didn't really get to the root of where it came from. So most likely it may return,
Right.
or it's like kind of just a band-aid for a little while, right? So
Right.
I do understand that the inside work, the healing the heart, healing the soul, like connecting to the soul, there is this permanent change. I mean, it does not return. I mean, it's like you are now changed, you are now healed.
Right.
And that's
Well
I
said.
think, the difference.
Well said. If people want to hook up with you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they work with Ragan Thomson?
I have a website. It's raganthomson.com. I do I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram channel. Once you connect to Ragan Thomson online, you'll see spiritual teacher there. If you look that up anywhere on Google, it'll show you all the different ways you can reach me. I do a lot of classes and workshops. I also do retreats. I'm a global world service activist, so I do a
Tell me a
lot of.
little bit about that. We just got a few minutes left, but
Yeah.
but tell me. I saw that and I'm like, oh, I got to ask about that.
Yeah. I serve in different capacities in an organization called World Systems Solutions. And basically that's what we're doing. It's a highly spiritual at its foundation organization. It's a group of new world servers. We're together helping to solve and mitigate all the most world pressing problems, which specifically right now in the poly crisis, climate crisis is pretty intense. So we've been working together for an organization for a few years. We're creating a platform called the Phoenix World Transformation Engine. It is a global world platform for us to come together as an incubator to create those solutions. And we're using technologies to do that are pretty widespread and massive. I'm serving as chair of the board. I serve on the educational design team, the workshop development team. There's many teams. I've done the women's empowerment team there, a conscious parenting team. So we have like a team process. It's very beautiful, and it's been quite a journey. We've been growing over time, and our work is to really update all systems across the globe into consciousness.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well said, young lady. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us here. We'll talk some more later on. I've got a long list of people that I want to put in that chair and talk, because there's so much to be shared. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me and talk to my listeners. And we'll chat again. Ragan Thomson, RaganThomson.com. Is it REA or RAG?
It's RAGANTHOM, no PSON.
I didn't tell you it was going to be a spelling contest, did you? I'm sorry.
Often,
Hopefully that's one though.
yeah, no, it's misspelled all the time. So thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us at the Unlock a Life You Love podcast. My name is Dr. Tim Teel. I am the Doc of Unlock, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you.